Grief can feel overwhelming, like everything is happening all at once and nothing makes sense, and you don't know what to do with it all. On the Grief Ladies podcast, we focus on one thing, helping you figure out what comes next. From our first 5 guest interviews, we are sharing the first 5 simple, actionable steps that can help people feel more grounded, supported, and connected as they grieve. These steps are a part of our grief framework, which is grounding, rebuilding, interacting, evolving, and finding.
I think try to give yourself a delicious bedtime ritual. Get into your senses, a cup of tea, a candle, or some essential oils, a comfy blanket, a nice little space where you can sit, not necessarily in your bed, but just brain dump on a piece of paper, everything on your mind. It could be the list of what you want to do tomorrow. It could be a poem. It could be whatever free thinking comes out of your mind. And just let yourself have that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 if you feel like you can gift yourself that. And then just see what happens. Run the experiment of when I do this, what does it look like for me to fall asleep, to stay asleep? What does my morning feel like? And really track that for yourself. Be a scientist about your own experiment with sleep. And don't be afraid to tweak different things in order to really give yourself the experience that works for you and get the best sleep for yourself.
One thing that I have found very powerful in my work is a grateful list. Every day, writing 3 things down that you are grateful for. And in the beginning, you don't feel grateful. You can't even really think of anything you're grateful for. But if you have a favorite pair of socks, then write that down on that list. If you got to have a good meal that day, write it down on that list. The thing about that practice and making it a normal practice is eventually your heart will catch up with your head. If you make it a practice to write down the things that you are grateful for, you will begin to recognize the things you are grateful for. So you may not feel it at first, but you will eventually if you put that into practice. And the practice of gratefulness has great significance on your well-being and mental health and physical health even.
Sitting down and being mindful about ways that your person's influence is still present in your life. And at first, if you're in early grief, you're going to be like, it's not there. It's very easy to think and see that it isn't. Try to ask someone else what they see, especially, if it's a friend or family member that knows about you and your grief story. Say, how do you see this person's influence in my life if you yourself can't find it? And then hopefully that kind of sparks a cascade of, oh, yes, actually, I do carry them forward in this way. And, just like you said a few moments ago, Karyn, like we can't tell someone how to do this. And so maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. And maybe you do want to do something that is more tangible, like the little hearts and the circles in this physical jar. But I think the thesis of what I'm trying to say is, even though they are physically not present with us, how is their influence still unequivocally present?
We really talked about that, standing next to the pool and grounding yourself. A piece that it didn't say on it is we ground ourselves into feelings. There's feelings of emotions, sensations, and bodily reactions. We kind of think in these 3 terms. And so I know when we're in a very emotion-filled state that it can be super helpful to feel in a physical state. This is where swimming is such a remarkable thing, right? Because this physical state around us. So even doing something as simple as rubbing your 2 fingertips together so slowly that you're just paying attention. You're bringing all of your attention into that kind of feeling, right? This gives us this little break, this little slow down. It's a very small, tangible thing that we can do anytime, anywhere, if we need a tiny break from the other feelings that are coming in, is to just feel into our physical bodies.
That's
and
great.
be present in that moment.
Set your intention either before you go to bed and let your deceased loved one know, I am open to communication if you would like to enter into my dreams tonight. Have a dream journal in case, you have a visitation dream. I would, again, ask and figure out, what do you feel like is your sign from the person? Maybe you're a numbers person and your deceased person's date of birth is a number that you're going to look for all the time. I know my dead relatives talk to me a lot in license plates. So, you can definitely through access after death communication, through meditation, through journaling. There is something called automatic writing.
Grief may have changed your life, but you still have choices. You get to decide where to put the energy you have today. That's what our grief framework is all about. Small, doable steps that support you as you move forward with love, one moment at a time, while still staying connected to your loved one. Check out the Grief Ladies podcast as we continue to share stories, tools, and honest conversations about grief and what comes next. New episodes come out every Wednesday. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform as well as YouTube. And if you haven't joined the Grief Ladies Facebook community, go ahead and request to join. We'd love to have you.